You ever make a choice and then a little while later you stop and think, wait a second, was that really me? We all like to believe we're in the driver's seat of our own lives, making our own calls. But what if I told you there are often invisible strings being pulled, steering you in directions you didn't even mean to go? Today, we're going to see those strings. We're going to find out exactly how they work. Choose for yourself. We hear this all the time, and it feels good, doesn't it? It makes us feel empowered, in control. But here's the clever trap. While you're busy feeling great about choosing between door A and door B, someone else might have built the hallway and made sure that both doors lead to the exact same room. That feeling of freedom? Sometimes it's the most powerful illusion there is. So are you really the master? This question gets right to the heart of what's known as dark psychology. It's all about the art of influence when it's used for manipulation and control. So in this explainer, we are going to pull back the curtain and expose the most common techniques used to pull on those strings. The goal is simple. Once you can see them and you understand them, you can make sure that you're the only one in control. All right, let's dive in. First up, we're going to look at the techniques that are specifically designed to short-circuit your rational brain. These are the sneaky tricks that prey on our natural thought processes to get us to make decisions without really thinking. This one is a classic, and it's so effective, the illusion of choice. It works because it gives our brains exactly what they crave, a feeling of control. The moment we feel like we're choosing, our critical thinking just kind of takes a nap. We get so focused on whether we want option A or option B that we totally forget to ask the most important question. Hey, wait a minute, who decided these were the only options? And this is the perfect everyday example. A parent asks their kid, hey, do you want your candy after lunch or after you finish your homework? And the kid's face lights up. They feel so grown up, like they just won this huge negotiation. But what did the parent want all along? Simple, no candy right now. The kid thinks they won the battle, but the parent won the war without a single argument. Ugh, we've all felt this one. That sudden pressure. Limited time offer. This is the scarcity principle, and it's basically a direct attack on our logic. It weaponizes our FOMO, our fear of missing out. The second our brain thinks something is rare or about to vanish, it just panics. It starts screaming, get it now, you're gonna lose it. And we completely bypass the much more important question, which is, hold on, do I even really need this? Now, this technique is really sneaky because it plays on our deep internal need to be consistent people. Once you say yes to a tiny, easy request, you've sort of created a self-image in that moment as an agreeable, helpful person. So when the manipulator comes back later with a much bigger request, saying no suddenly feels wrong. It feels like you're contradicting yourself. And that little bit of internal pressure is often all it takes to get you to say yes again. This is actually based on a famous study. Researchers went door to door asking people to put a tiny sticker in their window to support safe driving. Easy enough, right? Most people said yes. But then, a few weeks later, they went back to those same people and asked them to put a massive, frankly ugly, drive carefully sign on their front lawn. And the results were insane. A shockingly high number of people agreed, all because that first tiny yes had already propped the door open for the huge request to follow. So if those first tactics were about hacking our logic, this next batch, this is where it gets a lot more personal. These techniques are designed to hijack your heart. They weaponize our deepest feelings, like guilt, fear, and our basic human need to connect with others. The classic guilt trip. This is probably one of the most powerful weapons in the emotional arsenal. Why? Because it works by making you feel like you're in debt, like you're being selfish or ungrateful. The manipulator cleverly reframes their request, so it's not a choice anymore. It's a moral obligation that you now supposedly owe them. So the real key is learning to hear the subtext, the part that's not being said out loud. When someone says, a real friend would help, the surface message is about friendship. But the hidden threat is, if you don't do this for me, I'm questioning our entire friendship. Or how about, I don't know what I'd do without you. It sounds like a compliment, but it can be a way of hiding a very heavy threat. You are responsible for my happiness, and if I'm not happy, that's going to be your fault. Fear is such a primal motivator. It can completely shut down our ability to think straight. And a manipulator knows this all too well. They might invent or blow up some external threat just to make you depend on them for safety. Or in a personal relationship, it can be much more subtle. They might slowly instill a fear of being alone until the thought of leaving them feels way more terrifying than the unhappiness of staying.
1. That's the number a manipulator wants you to be left with. Just one. One source of truth. One source of support. One single person to depend on. And this brings us to what might be the most destructive tactic of them all: social isolation.
This is the manipulator's end game. It's a slow, methodical process. They'll start by criticizing your friends and family. They'll create drama right before you're supposed to go out. They'll make you feel guilty for wanting to see other people. The whole point is to systematically cut you off from your support network, to create this little vacuum where they are the only person left. And once they're the only voice you hear, it becomes so much easier to control you.
Okay, I know that was all pretty heavy. We've seen the strings, we understand how they get pulled. So now, for the most important part, how do you take back the controls? How do you actually cut those strings? This is your number one, single most effective defense. It's so simple. Just a pause. See, manipulation almost always relies on speed and pressure. It wants you to make an immediate emotional decision. By simply creating a moment of space, a pause, you give your rational mind the time it needs to catch up and see what's really going on. So here it is, your practical 3-step defense plan. First, you pause. A simple phrase like, "let me think about that and get back to you," is a total game changer. It just breaks their momentum. Second, in that space you've created, you question, what are they really asking here? How does this make me feel? And third, you reclaim the decision. You make your choice based on your values, not their pressure. Think of this as your mental checklist, your toolkit. The moment you feel that pressure, just run through these questions in your head. Asking what's the option that isn't being presented is the perfect way to spot that illusion of choice. Asking, am I acting out of fear or guilt or from logic, is a direct counterattack to emotional manipulation. This toolkit puts the power right back in your hands. So, at the end of the day, just being aware is the first and biggest step towards being in control. These tactics, they lose almost all of their power the moment you can see them for what they are. So now that you've seen the strings, the choice of who gets to pull them is finally truly yours.